Greetings, greetings. So I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately. Been doing a lot of work, just haven't been recording anything. Uh, kind of get behind, and you feel like a few minutes to set up the camera will eat up from your progress, especially when you're getting stressed out and whatnot. I finished those stools for Carlisle. I think I've got a little video on that I'm going to post later. But I didn't think I made some where I was sandblasting it and breaking it down, getting it ready for coating and whatnot. But I ran into a little snag and got a little stressed. And so anyway, got them finished. Had a great time. They went for a great cause. So yeah, happy about that. Got them done at the last moment. I literally was holding pieces in my hand drying as I was driving to Pennsylvania, 5-hour drive. So trying to get back in the swing of making a video or two, making some content, but got me some new gloves for my cabinet. So these came in. They're for a tractor trailer. Guy found them on eBay, I think. They came in, they were different color. So I've already dipped them. Going to re-sandblasted them because they've been sitting in my cabinet for a bit waiting on powder to show up. So going to re-sand these. He wants the dog to be in a chrome, like a silver, and the base around it red. So that's what we got to do now. So I got the compressor on, and probably can't see much. I need to change this out. The heat here has been pretty crazy up until like last week. We kind of had a break. The humidity and everything just makes it tough for these things to stick on, and messing with it and fighting with it, it kind of, leaving handprints and just dust and everything behind it. So I did, however, get me a new light for my cabinet. I have not installed it yet. It came in the day I left for Carlisle, and since I got back Sunday evening of last week and just been rolling ever since. So that's what I'm working on tonight. I'd like to get these blasted again and outgassed in my oven. Maybe tomorrow, if I have time. I got a little tractor job to do. Maybe tomorrow I can get my new light in there. That's not a do or die thing, but it would be nice to have a nice bright light. These are pretty good, but you gotta aim them, and they generate some heat, so you can definitely feel it in here. I mean, it's pretty much a floodlight, so it definitely puts off some heat. Not terrible, but I don't have the AC in here at the moment and whatnot. So anyway, we are gonna get those parts blasted, blown off, and outgassed. Excuse the mess in here. I've been working on my 93 still. You know how it goes, work in progress. Until you finish the project, you got kind of bits and pieces laying around. And I got a sweep in here, got some dead bugs. Kind of the mid-summer thing. Then toward the end of summer, I usually come in here and do like a good cleaning. This is where I detail motorcycles and parts, whatever, But I'm not a super neat freak, but some like the cobwebs and bugs, kind of like dead bugs, kind of, you just kind of feel like you need to reset. That's what I feel like I need to do a lot. The 93 extended cab running great, fantastic. I've been doing some work to it, obviously, but I've been waiting on a headliner. I don't understand what's taking so long on that, but I've got all the trim pieces painted, ready to go back in. When I got it together and had it outside, I noticed I had quite a few leaks in the cab. I think I fixed those. My side window nuts finally came in, so hopefully I'll have that done here soon. I don't know what the holdup is on the headliner, but I ordered that like 2 weeks ago, so they say it takes a while, but I guess they're telling the truth on it because it's definitely taking a moment to get here. I'll be doing some rehashing on Carlisle soon. Great time. I didn't get I got a lot of pictures, didn't really do a lot of video. Like I said, I need to hire like a muse or like some kind of like, like the old filmmaker Ed Wood. Need to have some people around me with some cameras and everything at all times, just in case. I get lazy and I'm like, man, let me finish up this, then I'll film something. Let me finish up this, then I'll film. Next thing you know, you're kind of done, and it's like, well, I missed a few steps. May as well finish it up and record something else. But anyway, that's what's happening. All right. So got these blasted again. Give it a nice profile and whatnot. Sometimes you leave things sitting in your cabinet, it can oxidize a little bit and not have a very good profile, but I think these are good to go. I'm going to take them in here, blast them off. Yeah, kind of working on a lot of things. Let's see. Man, I'll be glad when I get that done. Just waiting on things. I just don't understand what's taking so long. But got the carpet in, the seats all done. There's some of the trim, most of the trim's done. I think I fixed all the leaks. Can't wait to have that complete. I'd hate to put everything back together and then, without the headliner, then it show up and have to take everything off again. Everything turned out pretty decent for what it is. Like I said, you can go crazy, man. You could go and get someone to do your interior, spend thousands, if not more, and I don't know. I kind of got lost in it, like I said I wasn't going to do. But I did want to replace all the seals. I did all that. And I took a chance on taking these windows out, and some of the nuts strip just is what it is, but I got new ones. That side's in, the passenger side's in, and seems pretty tight. The new seal seems pretty good. I also had a leak up here. I fixed that. Somebody made a homemade, I guess, vent plate. I think if the truck had AC, then it would have not had that plate. It would have been more of a vent. I think if I read right. Yeah, no. The passenger side would have. This has AC, so that right there has a different plate on it. And the driver's side they cut the holes at the factory the same as the passenger side in the cab. So if it did not have, okay, I'm correcting myself. If it did not have AC, it would have those floor vents where you pull the cab vents, whatever, where you pull the little lever there and it would open, let air come through. Well, since this is an AC truck, it has a block-off plate. And sometimes they leak. For whatever reason, someone had taken this one out and put a homemade one in and messed up some other things. There's a grommet beside that plate. If you're familiar with these trucks at all, there's a grommet beside that plate that has a holder to keep it from leaking, but I think I've got all that straight. I've got a spare dash for a truck I'm working on, and the guy brought it back to me, he cut pretty much half the cab off, a quarter of it anyway. I laughed at it at first, but I'm glad he did because that's where I got the spare plate from. You can see, may see a little bit better. That's the hole I'm talking about. I don't know if you can really see it, but that's the grommet there that I'm talking about. Without that hole down, it kind of just dances around in there and water can get by it when it rains heavily, or really kind of just lightly kind of runs down here, goes by behind the fender. But anyway, I've got, powder coated that, and everything's been got sheets covering it, replacing the back glass while I got everything out. Steam cleaned all the seats and interior pieces. I just gotta get me one of those Coverlay dash pieces to just kind of get rid of the hide the cracks, whatever, but and clean, give it a good detailing. Other than that though, man, she is ready to go. The seats turned out very well. Everything I've painted turned out pretty decent. I don't have an issue with it. I'm not a fan of spray bomb. Those out there may know what I'm talking about, but I'm not a fan of it. But if you do a lot of prep and a nice even coverage, you'll get very good results. The main thing is the prep. When you do it, you want to be able to, you want it to look like, if you can't see those little cracks and what I call them kind of just surface, whatever they're supposed to be from the factory, just kind of a look, I guess, that texture and whatever, topography, whatever you want to call it. But if it doesn't look like that, you've got too much paint and you've done something wrong, because that means I've seen where people just glob it on hoping that the fisheye would just kind of fill in. But yeah, it didn't turn out too bad at all. Scuffed it down a little bit, and compared to what it was, yeah. So still playing with this. Like I got one of the seats permanently mounted last night, so I'm happy with that. They feel pretty good. I kind of wish I had a low back seat, but when I built this truck, it was very much on a budget, and a guy had given me some racing seats. So I was like, cool, I'll make some brackets and throw them in, cool. And I bought me some harness seat belts. I think it's like a 4-point harness, 5-point harness. I can't remember what they are. They're not very expensive, and of course I mounted them in here, and well, now I got new holes. And of course I didn't give this truck a lot of love. I didn't hack it, but I also didn't give it a lot of love. I really wasn't worried about drilling holes and things and whatever, but because I bought this truck just for the bed for my 93 that's in that trailer, the black one that you see every so often. But anyway, kind of getting along with it. Off topic of what I'm talking about and doing tonight. So tonight, I am working on what I just showed you, those emblems or whatever you want to call them for that truck. And I think these are like Great Dane or something like that, whatever they're called. I know the dog's a Great Dane. I know what a Great Dane is, but I don't know if the actual truck is a Great Dane or Great Dane makes hardware for them or something like that. I don't speak tractor trailer. I've seen these around before back in the day. If I remember right, like Great Dane, they had mud flaps. I've seen them on trucks and whatnot. But anyway, like I said, the guy, he did some searching and found these. These are in pretty good shape. They were all kinds of colors when I got them. And now I'm just going to spray them off. And, like I said, that stuff, I'm not messing with any of that. That stuff, that's going to stay on it. And because, think of this, when you get messing with metal, you don't know the integrity of it. I mean, even though that's something that's just like a little burr, you could file that down, next thing you know, there's a crack under it. And guess what? Now you're liable for that, unless you've actually sat down and talked and said, hey, this could happen. A lot of times people don't understand that. I mean, it's like a crack underneath. It's like a cake that's cracked, but the thin layer of icing makes it look complete. And I have ran into that before. I've got pictures of a clutch pedal assembly I did for a 69 Camaro. We dipped it and sandblasted it, and somebody had put enough paint on it. I don't think they did it to hide it. It's just how it happened. Maybe they didn't notice it, but it had hairline cracks in it, especially on the stress points. And I told the guy, I was like, look, if we powder coat this, odds are this is going to break on you at some point. So he ended up found another one and redid it and all. But so a lot of times you don't realize it, and sometimes people don't want to accept that an item they brought to you might be defective. Not saying that's the case with these or anything else, but once you start digging into things, that's now your baby. You own that. So yeah, I mean, you could deburr it and whatever, and some people might say, well, you're overthinking it. Yeah, maybe I am, but for example, I don't think this old, no, not this one. I've got, of course, this is just decoration here, but I've seen transmissions where you clean them up. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it is. You know, it's like, well, yeah, it's held because I've had it in my truck with the 383 in it. But, you know, if this was like a customer's, you know, and let's say they look long and hard for this, they don't want to hear that, well, your score has issues. And a lot of times people don't know. Today's time is a lot different. People just want things. They're not really into it the way, say, some old school people were, to where it's like, you know, say a guy that had an old 69 Camaro back in the day, well, he was probably driving that to work while he was working on it. Nowadays, it's just, you know, people want I'm a pretend cool guy because I've got a cool old truck or an old car, but I really wear, you know, non-dirty. It's the same thing as the foreman that will show up on a work site. He's got the new work boots and jeans, and he looks like, you know, he's getting ready to model in a catalog rather than go put down some 2x4s. But people kind of want the look nowadays, kind of getting off into a personal rant. But anyway, a lot of people don't want to hear that, well, what's wrong with it? You can't explain some things to people. It's just, well, it's metal. Well, yeah, I mean, but it's like anything else, like concrete, it can have a stress crack. And you might be the guy that finds it, then that's your baby. And then you got to figure out a way to correct it or whatever, get an argument, whatnot. But so, yeah, things coming along. I still haven't messed with this a whole lot. I got the headers and stuff in it. I've got to get them back out to, I think I've said before, I forgot to mark for the spark plugs because the heads are different than what I had on it before. So I got to re-dip those, strip them back down, and make them a little bit more user-friendly for the heads that I have on it for the spark plugs. That's not a big deal. But, so anyway, I'm kind of getting off here. But yeah, like I said, I really want to get this done. I drove the crap out of it. That's why I brought it in here over a month ago now. And I went ahead and just ripped out the interior. I mean, because I knew if I didn't do it then, I would just keep driving it and be saying, I need to get the interior out. I need to get that carpet out. But like I said, I got it out. A friend of mine helped me, and he helped me get this in, and it fit pretty decent. I mean, it seemed to be a decent quality carpet kit. So I'm kind of impressed with it. Pleased with it, I should say. Obviously, nothing fits as nice as stock, but it's better than ratty and rotting and smelling horrible carpet. And I think I've showed too, to where the driver floorboard was completely cut out. That's because of that leak that was over there, and I'm pretty sure he was getting water in there and thinking, well, without the carpet, I can just sop it up quicker. And then I noticed these windows were leaking. I'm hoping it was just the windows, but as you can see here, she's got some, when I took the old window out, it had like rust just falling. So, like I said, I'm gonna wet sand this little edge here, just kind of smooth it out. I'll kind of already start it in that corner. Then I'm gonna put some rust reformer here, maybe put some POR 15 on it, and then install the new glass. That's the old one. You see all the rust around it. So I'm hoping at least knock down some of the leaks. Let's say that. I mean, even if it's not perfect, I can live with it. As long as it rained. We had a decent rain for like a couple of hours, and then it stopped. Sun came out, and I saw steam condensation, I should say, on the windshield. So that means you got some water in there somewhere, and I did. So I felt around in there, and I'm pretty sure I figured out where it was from. So like I said, new seals. I put some glass sealant around the seal where it makes contact with the truck itself. There was some rust on the bottom pieces, not bad, but I made sure I got some glass window sealant around where the seal touches the truck, the metal itself, and I don't see how anything can get in there. These feel fairly tight. Like I said, that seal, that's in there pretty good. So when I shut this, I can feel, you can actually see it. You can feel tension, and that feels about right. I am familiar with S10s, but I'm not super familiar with the extended cabs. Of course, I never really looked at like this package came with this and that package came with that, whatever. But I've seen some that have had these. It's a solid piece, and it's sitting in there. Of course, it's not, it's no different than like, say, the side glass on a Blazer. So I don't know if some came that way or not. I'm not sure on that one. I saw a guy in Carlisle that his truck's like that. Same year, I think. It's not as close, but extended cab. But his has a solid piece, and it has that trim and stuff around it. Same thing as you would say like a windshield. But I don't know if some came like that or like this. I really like this because I think it looks pretty cool. Going down the road, glass open like that, kind of like the full-size trucks. I like it. I just like this. If I had to get the solid, I will, but I like those. Hopefully I can retain that and everything be great. So, bouncing around on topics, I got myself set up in here to do a little bit of powder coating. It's not ideal. Actually, I've been pulling everything out to clean everything. I still got to wash the Cadillac and my 93, and as you see, there's some pink dust on this. It was worth it because where the stools ended up going and what the money generated was going to. So I had zero complaints on that. But I did figure out one of the days that I was doing the stools, I did one stool in pink. And of course, anyone that powder coats knows the different colors. Some of the powder's heavier and thicker than others. So you end up, you have more waste, and I don't have a super high quality gun. So you're going to run into waste if you don't have a high quality gun. I did have my filter set up with a fan, but of course that's only doing so much, and I'm trying to, this is not where I want to do powder coating. I am going to work on, if I get more jobs coming in, I'm going to possibly get something to where I can just kind of have it on wheels, some kind of little booth out here to where I can just shove it off to the side when I'm done with it and come in here when I need it, shut the door, have a little fan in there with your vent and the filter and do your coating. Right now I'm doing small pieces. Who knows, as things progress, maybe we could work up to something bigger, but it's not in the budget at the moment. It just wouldn't make sense for me to, I'm gonna go out here and spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a, natural commercial grade oven, or even if I made something homemade, it would be probably stationary. And again, I don't want to be doing powder coat in here, but I'm going to do these, and that'll be fine. Like I said, I'll make a few bucks off it. This job and another little job I have to replace some fuel lines on the guy's truck will pay for an upgraded gun. An upgraded gun, you get more voltage, which gives you more static charge, which attracts more of the compound, and you have less waste. And it takes less time to actually fill a void or whatever, to where you're not just sitting there and letting it just go, 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 go. I do have some pictures of those stools I built, and I'll include them in this, I think. But yeah, that's the deal with this. So I'm going to get these blown off and get started. So they're blown off. Right now I'm gonna get them on my little jig there. Jig, trolley, whatever you want to call it. And then we're gonna get them in my oven. Let them outgas for a little bit. I mean, realistically, I probably wouldn't have to worry about it, but we're gonna do it right. That's what you gotta do. Outgassing basically just creates pressure. If there's any porous, in porous metals, things of that nature, some more porous than others, depending on its life. As you can see, we have two different shades here. They were different colors when I got them, when he dropped them off, but they came from different sellers. So who knows where one might have lived compared to the other. So you're going to outgas it. I usually do, well, or I should say seen done or do now, around 400, 420, something like that. Certain metals you don't want to do too long. Certain aluminums can be weakened. You don't want to go too hot for something thin. You kind of just got to play with it and maybe just kind of see what you're doing with what's going on. I mean, obviously, something you can kind of bend in your hand is not going to take that long to heat up compared to, I mean, this is pretty thick. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do now. See here, I usually just put it for a couple hours. Of course, it's not going to be running that long, but it gives me time to run around the shop, mess around, do whatever. I don't have to think about it. And then we're going to set it and let her preheat. So while that's preheating, I'm going to rig up some wire for these, so I can set them in there and let them get hot. Then I got to go run, do my workout. Well, that's outgassing. So I apologize if the video is kind of shoddy, whatever. Hey, that's me, sorry. But anyway, I made me some hooks. This should do. I think what I'm going to do until I upgrade or figure something out better, I'm just going to wrap this around that and just hook it to it. So this piece of wire is a little bit too long. This whole thing might be too long. Obviously, you don't want it to get too close to the heating element, which is where a nice big oven would come in handy. I probably won't even use that for this. I did use it, however, for the axle shaft of the stool that I made. So what I'm going to do with this is open that up, put a nice little hook on it, and there you go. That'll be good enough to get it in there and get it hot. Now when I powder coat it, he's wanting to do 2 different colors. So I'm hoping this shows up in the video. So he's wanting to do this. The texture stays, because that's what it was. He's wanting to do this. and behind it, he's wanting to do that in red, and the dog in a chrome. I think I mentioned that. But so when I powder coat these, I'm going to have to do one color, vacuum the over away, bake it, pull it out, lay the other color. So that's the only way I know to do that. But when I do with these, I might do them one at a time. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of stretch it out like this. And, you know, that way it gives me something nice flat to vacuum off of and work on. But I can hang these together. I mean, realistically, I could do them both together. But hanging upside down and vacuuming, having it dangling around, that's not efficient, and that's not really how you want to do it. It's just a lot, too many variables. I think you can bump into something, whatever. So I think that will be fine. But when I go to powder coat, I'm going to probably put me a piece of wire here, and just kind of have it flat. Maybe even put a bolt in it. And that way I got a flat surface to work around. Upgrades coming soon. Right now I'm kind of fly by night, but I don't have a choice. So that's how we're going to do that. We got that one hanging. And now we're going to bend this. All right, we stuck. So now we're just going to, well, it's already got a nice little hook on it. Like I said, right now we just want to get it hot. And we just want to get it in the oven. So once that oven preheats, she's just about there. So once that gets ready, put on my gloves and stick her on in there. And then once it outgasses, then you want to kind of look around and see if you see anything kind of weird looking, any kind of black specks, anything like that, any kind of greasy looking stuff. Obviously, see, a lot of people, when they do stuff like this, they will sandblast it and they think, all right, well, hey, she's clean. It is clean, but think about it. You're sandblasting, and a lot of times with the air and pressure, you're pushing contaminants in to the pores of the metal, aluminum, whatever. So outgassing, you're basically baking. It's like a pimple. You're bringing everything to the surface and wiping it away as needed. You can. There's also I forgot what it's called, but it's I think it's called like outgas wipe or something like that, or pre-wipe. I can't remember the exact name, but you can wipe it down with that, and it's just like a, you know, a pre-cleaner or whatever. Anything helps. You want the surface to be as clean and profiled, excuse me, clean and profiled as possible. So that's what we're doing with these. But I think these will be fine. I don't think these have ever seen really a greasy situation. But of course, how you dipping them and cleaning them, that has a lot to do with it too. Like, say if you didn't have something to dip them in to strip all this stuff, of course you could grind it all, but you're still, when I say grind, I mean, you know, you could take like a wire wheel or something, but you still run the risk of, you know, digging in contaminants. Like if you took a wire wheel to that, you're going to lose its profile, and that's what this is known for, having that little profile, the dog, whatever. So if you can dip it in something to eat the existing coating off, that's what you want. So that's what we've done here, and we are about ready to outgas. Okay, so we're ready now to do some outgassing. Put on my welding gloves. Open them up. I forgot something. See, I put the tray back in here the other day. Kind of just, so I know where it's at. So, but You're not wanting to leave this thing open for too long because you're losing your heat. But in this situation, you get outgassing, so it won't take long for the heat to rise back up. It'll be here about maybe 20 or so minutes. I'm going to go run a 5K real quick, get these gloves off, and I'll see you in about 20 minutes. All right, so that concludes the outgas. They're still hot to the touch. So let them cool down, wipe them down, and then we are going to get on the coating. So what we got to do for that is, that will be tomorrow. And what I'm doing for that is, well, you'll see I'm going to lay me down a nice little blanket to kind of catch the fallout. I've got a filter. I might pick up another one tomorrow. I got a tractor job I have to do in the morning. Might pick up another one to put on this, shut the door, shut the fans off, and I might run the AC to just kind of knock the humidity out of here. Then lay down some color and get that baked. But just wanted to go through that. Haven't posted in a while. Kind of just haven't felt like it, I guess. But hey, if you want to be seen, you gotta put something out there to be seen. So, like I said, hopefully I get better at this. I've got the stuff going on. It's just, man, it's just, I'd rather be working than filming. Maybe I need to find somebody that has a kid that don't have anything to do. But yeah, while I'm walking around showing things, I went ahead and haven't mounted them all the way in correctly yet, but went ahead and put some stock lights back in it. Don't hate these, but I don't know if I was ever really a fan. I don't know. They look fine, but performance-wise, I don't know. I really think the stock lights are much brighter and kind of actually look better in my opinion. They more so match the fog lights or whatever, so is what that is. I still have not done it, but I also need to get the rear wheels off and get them to Richmond to get to get them trued out. I think one has a bend in it, like a slight little bend. I know it's not the truck because I've replaced the axles, the bearings, all that stuff. So, but she's got a slight wobble at certain speeds. It never had it before, so it's got to be the wheels. I could take the front off, put on the back to the front, see what happens, but the front feels great. The back has a slight wobble at certain speeds. Never did it before. Was changed, different wheels. When I first put them on, it rode smooth as glass, but I'm thinking too, it was new tires. They haven't wore in yet. Like I said, it's a slight, you can kind of see it too when it's going down the road. It's a slight wobble. You can kind of feel it in the bed to where, or see it in the bed to where it's kind of got that little side to side action, but that is what it is, of course, and get that done. But so tune in. I'll be getting some color on those tomorrow, but I wanted to kind of go through the blasting, a little bit of the outgassing procedure with you. Again, that stuff's not really rocket science or curing cancer, but there is more to it than just throwing powder on it. If it's not, you definitely want it clean, a good static charge on it to really attract that powder, because that's what's pulling it into those little crevices and stuff like that. So without, I mean, you could sprinkle it on by hand, but that's not a guarantee that it's getting where it has to get. So if you have any kind of breach in the coating itself, then that's where water, oxidation, rust, whatever is going to get behind and start peeling it off and flaking out. So you definitely want to pay attention to that. It's work, it's time consuming, and of course, the bigger the piece, the more intricate the piece is time consuming, and it can be messy. When you see those videos where, you know, like say a company, whatever, they're promoting their product, and they show a quick little dusting over on things and stuff like that, and it shows there's no dust anywhere, there's no mess. Yeah, I mean, for the little pieces I've been doing, you can kind of say that, but I've got pictures of the pink, and I mean, you know, I had the gun, had everything ready, clean. It just is what it is. I had to have the door open just a slight bit because it was so hot, but I had a gap, maybe a foot gap. I had that gap closed in with a fan, but for some odd reason, I mean, it was not even strong, gusty wind, but it was just enough to kick it back in my shop and kind of swirl around and kind of just do what it's going to do. You can actually still see some on my tire machine. You can see that pink hue on it. You can see some pink on that. Gotta get this washed up again. But anyway, it's really messy and time consuming. Yeah, you can use a filter. That definitely knocks down dust and mess, obviously. But it's like woodworking. If your shop isn't really, you know, if you got some decent things in your shop, then you're not going to want to come in there and just blast powder everywhere. Because yeah, I would think that if you were to drive around, okay, for example, on this truck here, I need to pull it out and wash it. I've already washed this and got it off. The extreme, obviously, that it wasn't terrible, but you know, where the sheets aren't covering, you did have some of it. I still got to wash the Cadillac, but like I said, you can see that little hue on top of the hood, on the roof. So I'm thinking, hey, it melts. It starts melting at, like, give or take, I think some of them are like 350 degrees. Now, granted, it might not do a full cure, but I mean, if I were to park this outside in the sun during a 90, 100 degree day, then, you know, sometimes, I mean, you can't even touch metal on a vehicle on like a 90 or 100 degree day. It's so hot. So who's to say that's not kind of already starting to break down and kind of flow out on your paint? But like I said, when you see those real pretty videos demonstrating products, they're not lying, but they're also not doing like a wheel or a big intricate piece. It's always a timing cover or like a valve cover or something like that, some little small pieces. And excuse me. But yeah, they're not lying, but it definitely looks neat. And they got the little filter with the little fan and the little whatever. I'm not talking about any specific company, anything like that. But I'm just saying, you see even wheel polishing videos are like that. You see like, hey, look, you don't get anything on your hands. Well, that's impossible. You're going to get something on your hands if you got a dirty wheel that hasn't been polished in a long time. And if you're turning things and you got 4 of them to do, you're not just doing a little, you know, 4 or 5 inch section. You're doing like the entire thing, inside the little fluted parts, inside the ribs of things. So yeah, so you know, those demonstrative videos and stuff like that are just that. They demonstrate the product and what it can do. But kind of get back to my point, I'll see if I can add a picture of what I'm talking about. And it's not your technique, it's not anything. I mean, the powder has to lay on the material. It's got to lay on the part that you're wanting to coat. So it's not like paint to where you can just kind of like, yeah, I think I got good coverage. It's like, it has to be what it has to be. You have to have coverage on it. It has to be something there to flow out. If not, you'll get texture or it just doesn't look right. I tried to rush the gear shift handle on this truck here, and I was like, all right, well, it's covered, let's see what happens. And it looked like crap. It was textured. You can still see it was just awful. But then I said, you know, when I was doing the wheel for that stool, I redid the handle and I made sure it got good coverage, double, triple check, and it turned out beautiful. So that's the thing too. You're running into to where do you want to do this in your shop? Now you can't come outside and do it because if there's a breeze, then that powder is just going to float away, and you can only get the gun so close until you get that little bzzz shock from it, from where it's too close to the what you're working on, the part you're trying to coat. So you definitely can't have a lot of air moving all around, especially different directions. Now you got a little filter and a little fan, just kind of pulling the dusting away. That's all you really need. You don't really need a whole lot, but it's going somewhere. So long story short, it's just like woodworking. It's like you could have a woodworking shop. It's just like a painter shop, a woodworking shop. You go into either one of those and you know, it smells like woodworking or it smells like paint, and there's always some overspray on something, or you know, there's some shavings of something. There's always a little bit of dust on something, and you can't help it because of the nature of the job and the work. Unless you're going to pay someone buku bucks to come in and just clean up constantly after you, you're going to always have that. So, in me, I'm an overthinker a bit. So I'm in here thinking, the longer I've got that trigger depressed on the gun, the more stuff's going into the atmosphere. So I'm constantly going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So that being said, you're not really doing this in your driveway. You're not really doing it in a place where you kind of don't want overspray or dust or anything like that to get on good things. Like I got some things in here. I would not say anything I've got is outrageously expensive. It is my stuff. I love it. I cherish it. I do have some money in things I have in here, but there's people that have more in one truck than I've got into my entire existence right here. So that being said, I don't think anything I own is like, you know, the greatest ever, but I do have time and some money in it, and I like to keep it decent. So, and it also shows when someone comes to your shop or your job and it's like, oh, well, look how clean things are. He takes care of stuff. I feel safe leaving my stuff here. That's a big part of it as well. So, you know, if you come into my shop and it's like, well, you know, hey, it looks like he cares about that truck a little bit, but look at all the overspray on it. It just kind of says, well, I hope he doesn't do that to my vehicle. So that's, you know, so I want things to kind of show that I care and will definitely care about your item or whatever you have here for me to do. So again, as I repeat myself, that being said, it's not rocket science, but you definitely want a place to do it. And like I said, a lot of people don't want to do it in their garage or shop just for these reasons I've mentioned. So that's where people like me come in. So I've been toying with the idea of smaller parts to get kind of started, doing like a mail-in thing to where you mail me the part, I'll code it, we agree upon the color. With social media and access to internet and stuff like that these days, you can easily go in there and pick out a color that you want, send it to me, I can buy it, charge it, and code it and send you the part back. So I'm thinking that's something I'd really kind of like to get into. As in my travels, I realized not a lot of people do this sort of stuff. Anyone can do the, you know, I do it in my garage, I do it in my little shed. But yeah, you can sometimes. Like I said, you're not getting the full effect of things because it's kind of difficult sometimes. Like I said, if you don't have a clean environment, you're going to get contaminated things. If you got just random stuff everywhere, you're tripping over things, you know, or just other things going on in the atmosphere. For example, like going into a paint shop. A lot of the people at a paint shop, that's why they've got separate booths for everything. So like say you go to hey, I paint in my garage. That's cool. But do you also wax in that garage? Because everything leaves residue. Now, if you go in here and clean, say, one vehicle, okay. But let's say I came in here and waxed. All I did was wax. I waxed the gray truck, the 73, the Extreme, the blue 93, the Cadillac or whatever. Let's say I come in here and just wax those, my 93 in the trailer here, whatever, and just wax everything. When you come in here the next day, you're going to smell wax, whatever wax I used. So now that's a little bit in the atmosphere, right? So if you're painting in your garage, there's a good chance, and like, okay, I'm gonna wax it, buff it, do everything in here. Well, there's things in the atmosphere. You could go wipe off a shelf and kick stuff up. That's landing on your vehicle. Even if you wipe it down, you're still smearing carnauba. You're still smearing wax. It might be a minute particle of it, but if you do it enough, you're gonna get a buildup at some point. It's just like the chemical I use for detailing engine bays. I do not use tire spray because most tire sprays, you can't really get into your engine bay and start wiping everything by hand. You can do some of it, but even with brushes, you're not gonna get everything. What a lot of people will do, I actually talked to some guys at Carlisle, and they were selling some engine bay cleaner to a guy, and he was like, oh, I have trouble getting to my engine bay, this and that. And they sold him this stuff. Now, I've used it. It's not the best I've used. It's not junk either, but I have used better. But the stuff I use deflects dust. A lot of your old school like tire sprays, tire cleaners, it's going to give you a shine, but it's going to be a greasy shine. That greasy shine is a film. That film is going to hold dust. Now, let's say if you clean it all the time, you'll get away from it, I guess. But overall, at some point, it's going to build up. See, that's not greasy. There's no grease on that at all. And I did this last night. So it's not, greasy and sticky. You can put your hands on it, and you're not going to be like, oh, I got something on my hands. So, yeah, I'm talking while I'm waiting for that to cool down. So anyway, you spray tire cleaner on it, and that will collect dust. Let's say you come in here and you just spray it off with the hose. Let's say you got like a show vehicle that you do that with, to where you're not trying to get all up in it and give a good pressure washing. And, well, you just wash it. A lot of that stuff, and I can prove this. You can take a vehicle that you think is nice and clean, and you can take the fender well off. Let's say a truck like this, you can see where over time, where that stuff has slid to the back. And that's where it stays. And it builds up, and it holds moisture. It holds leaves, small leaves, debris, excuse me, things of that nature. And that's what creates your rust. It also it's just nasty. It's like spraying oil off like pavement or something. It's just like, it's always going to have that little film until the sun basically eats it away, and you can still see it. But anyway, I don't use tire dressing on my engine bays. But my point is that everything leaves a film. So like I said, getting back to my point of like a lot of paint shops, that's why they got separate booths for everything. We're going to sand in here. That way sanding is always done in here. You're going to see sand dust all over. It's going to smell like you've been sanding, sandpaper and all that stuff. Then we're going to move on to another booth and do this. And I've seen some nice paint jobs come out of garages and stuff. I mean, I've done not great jobs, but some jobs. But I'm talking to where if you're doing it on a consistent basis for customers all the time, that some people are better at their prep and cleaning of their shops and whatnot. But say you got a decent sized shop, or even you got another vehicle waiting right behind one that you just finished. Well, I mean, you just run that risk. So now when you go paint that, let's say you have a little film of wax on it that you can't see. Well, that paint might adhere to the metal, but at some point, it's going to pull away from it. You got to have a nice, sterile environment for that kind of stuff. I think anyone out there that messes with this stuff knows that. So, a lot of talking, waiting for this to clean up, and I'm sure there are people who will combat me and say, "Oh well, so-and-so, they paint in their shop, it turns out great, blah, 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 blah." But there's a ton of cleaning that goes into it. And say some of your buffing compounds, you're spinning that thing is shooting stuff everywhere. And you can say it's clean. Some may fare better than others, but there's still that film. So with powder coat, Oh yeah, won't be able to get to her till tomorrow. Yeah, they're cooling down. So yeah, I could open this, but you know, it'd be all right. I mean, it's like same thing with this paint here. Really good paint for interior, but the slightest bit of humidity and it just did not want to cooperate. So same thing with like say powder coating. So say you got a little bit of dust in the air. I'll say you might not notice it with a certain color, but let's say you're using pinks or green. Well, you're going to notice a little film that might be in the air. I mean, you could even kick that up while you're walking to check something, and it's going to gravitate towards what you're working on. So I'm just a real stickler for making sure there's, you know, if you got a place that's just kind of designated for what you're working on, you tend to get better results, is what I'm saying here. Some people don't care, I get it, but so if someone paid me a couple $100 to do a little part so they don't have to mess with it, get their garage dirty, order powder that they're not going to reuse, order a gun to use something one time or whatever, then, you know, I just want to feel like I've gave a good product at the end of it, rather than, you know, like I said, you could come out here in the breeze, like I said, if you wanted to, and you could use an entire bag of powder to coat a friggin' quarter if you wanted to, but you just, you know, if you look at how much powder costs and how much it costs to ship, it doesn't make sense to have a lot of waste. And of course, you're not going to want to pick it up off the floor because, I mean, that's just common sense. Why would you do that? You're getting dust particles in it now, and that can clog your gun, make for a terrible job. You can get fish eyes in your work, little bubbles and all that stuff. So anyway, I will check back in tomorrow. Hopefully, if you're watching, great. Listening, great. Hopefully I'll get better. Maybe I'll get, like I said, somebody's kid to come follow me around where I can actually do some things. And right now I'm kind of wandering around thinking, all right, I need to put this down to get to this. I need to put this on real quick. I got a little job to do in the morning. But anyway, if you're watching, thanks. Listening, thanks. Even if you hate it, appreciate it. Thanks. We'll get some color on this tomorrow.